I thought I was dating a man healing from his past. Turns out, I was the case study in his twisted therapy experiment. My name's Olivia, I'm 38, and I guess I'm the kind of woman who brings soup to someone else's emotional flu. You know what I mean? The fixer, the listener, the one who holds space. So when Ethan, smart, soft-spoken, mid-40s, with that worn leather therapist vibe, told me he was in therapy every week doing the work, I didn't hesitate. I respected it. It made me feel safe. I met him at a trauma healing workshop in Echo Park. I was there recovering from a divorce. He said he was integrating his shadow. I didn't even roll my eyes. That's how far gone I was. Our first real conversation was about emotional intelligence. He said, "I believe you can't love someone until you've sat with your own darkness." I mean, I practically ovulated on the spot. The first few months were a dream. He'd cook vegan lasagna, ask me about my childhood, and quote Jung over breakfast like it was pillow talk. He never raised his voice, never pushed for sex. He even asked for consent before hugging me the first time. He had the whole sacred masculine thing down. But there were rules. Ethan had boundaries. Like, I don't do sleepovers during therapy weeks. Thursdays are sacred, non-negotiable. I can't disclose who my therapist is. Confidentiality, part of the agreement. Sure, red flags in retrospect, but back then, I thought I'd finally met an adult. Every Thursday, he'd go dark for 6 hours, phone off, no texts, I told myself. Olivia, he's healing. You want a man who actually goes to therapy. That means giving him space. But here, where things cracked. One rainy Thursday night, Ethan came over late. He looked different, wired, euphoric. I asked how his session went and he smirked. It was intense, but necessary. Sometimes you have to sit in the fire. Then he grabbed my hips, kissed me like a man starving, and whispered, "Thanks for waiting for me." It was the best sex we'd had in weeks. After, I lay in bed next to him and felt used, not in the dirty way, in the sacred offering kind of way, like I was just a release valve. I chalked it up to projection. Until I opened the drawer in his kitchen, looking for a spoon. Instead, I found two things. A framed photo of him and a blonde woman, her hand on his chest. A handwritten note. "You helped me break the cycle. I'm ready now. I love you." It was signed, Marla. I froze. Marla, that name had come up once. He said she was his biggest heartbreak, a codependent mess, a chapter he'd closed. I put the photo back, quietly, too afraid to ask. Instead, I did what any emotionally literate, heartbroken adult would do. I stalked. Facebook, nothing. Instagram, deactivated. LinkedIn, therapist at Clarity Center for Emotional Renewal. Wait. Not a client. Therapist. ETHAN was the therapist. I felt my throat tighten. I typed in his full name. Psychology license, real, active. And then I saw it. Current client focus, trauma closure, breakups, relationship healing. I clicked read more. He specialized in helping clients gain emotional closure from past relationships through guided exposure, reframing, and narrative therapy. Narrative therapy. You mean rewriting the story. You mean telling your ex it was all your fault and thanking them for the growth. And then, in his online testimonials, hidden under initials, I saw it. EL helped me work through my lingering feelings for my ex. We met weekly for 8 months. I even got to read him the goodbye letter in person. MJ, Lowe's Angels. MJ equals Marla Johnson. 8 months weekly, Thursdays. My therapy boyfriend wasn't in therapy. He was the therapist. And not just any therapist, he was Marla. And every time he left me hanging on a Thursday night, he was spending sacred space with the ex he said nearly destroyed him. I felt like vomiting. I needed answers. But the worst part wasn't the lying. It was the performance. The long talks about ethical healing, the rules about consent, the no sleepovers, the boundaries. It was all a performance, a therapy cosplay. And I was just a convenient muse. A backup mirror while he helped her integrate the breakup. I snapped. I didn't just want the truth. I wanted to become his next case study. One he'd never forget. Before I ever found the photo, before the drawer, before Marla even had a name in my head, I thought Ethan was my safe place. After my divorce, I was cracked open. You know, the kind of heartbreak that doesn't kill you but leaves your spirit limping? That was me. My ex-husband, Derek, cheated on me with a yoga teacher he met in Bali during his Find Himself retreat. Came back with a man bun, mala beads, and an STD. I shit you not. So when Ethan entered the picture, calm, grounded eyes that looked like they'd cried and still stayed soft, I fell hard. He didn't chase me, he saw me. We met at this little event called Breath and Breakthrough. A ridiculous circle of grown adults breathing like Darth Vader while purging their traumas into tissue boxes. I rolled my eyes through most of it until Ethan started speaking. His voice was low, controlled. He said, most people talk about trauma like it's a thief, but what if it's your teacher? Everyone nodded. I felt it. I wanted to hear everything he had to say. After the session, we stood by the kombucha table and talked for 2 hours. He didn't flirt. He asked questions, deep ones. Not what do you do, but what are you longing for that you've never dared to say out loud? That kind of question hits, different when you're standing in your ex-husband's oversized hoodie and haven't worn mascara in 3 weeks. He texted me the next day. Just wanted you to know you looked powerful last night, even in your grief. Who says that? Not beautiful, not cute. Powerful. He made me want to become that woman, the one he saw, the one who hadn't fully arrived yet. So I cleaned my apartment, bought new sheets, made matcha like it mattered. Our early dates weren't even dates, they were soulful. We'd sit on my couch with books. He brought journals. He asked to do check-ins before kissing me. Like, are you feeling safe right now? What's coming up for you? Are you okay if I touch your hand? It was therapy-adjacent foreplay, and somehow it worked. One night we talked about our past relationships. I was honest about my divorce, about the betrayal. He just said, there was someone I lost who still echoes through me, but I've done the work. I've closed that loop. I didn't push, it felt sacred. He told me he used to be a therapist, that after a few years in the field, he burned out. He said the stories started following him home. You can't hold space for others if you haven't cleaned out your own attic, he said. That line stayed with me. I quoted it to my friends, bragged about him. But he never mentioned Marla by name. He did mention he was in therapy, weekly. Every Thursday. He'd turn his phone off from 4 to 10 p.m. Once I asked if he'd ever let me meet his therapist. As a joke, he tensed, then smiled. Boundaries are sacred, Liv. You of all people should understand that. So I did what every good girlfriend does. I backed off. I trusted the boundary. Every Thursday night I'd stay in, wait. Sometimes he'd text late, sometimes not until the next morning. I imagined him crying on a couch, working through grief. I'd cook, write in my journal, wait for him to come back softer. He always did. But there were cracks. Little ones. Once we were at a bookstore and he grabbed a copy of Attached off the shelf, flipped through it, and muttered, Marla hated this book. I froze. Who's Marla? He blinked, then smiled. An old ghost, not worth resurrecting. Another time I found a bracelet under his couch, feminine, silver. He said, probably yours, you're always losing things. But I was. Still, I let it go. Because I wanted to be the woman who trusted, who didn't project, who wasn't paranoid like Derek used to call me. I told myself, you're not broken, Olivia, you're healing, you're with someone who gets it. Even when he said odd things like, healing is nonlinear, closure can take years. Or, sometimes we relive things with new people just to finish the old script. At the time, I thought that was poetic. Now I realize it was foreshadowing. The whole time I was falling for Ethan, I didn't know I was the second act of someone else's play. That I was being used, not maliciously, but therapeutically. I was the variable. The test. The new partner he'd reference in sessions. To her, Marla. While I was learning to trust again. He was studying me. He'd ask things like, how does it feel to be believed? Do you remember the first time someone made you feel invisible? What's your definition of intimacy without sex? I thought he was building something with me. But really, he was building a case study. And I was too busy feeling seen to notice that I was never the only one in the room. It started to unravel slowly, not with a bang, but with a drawer. Literally, a drawer in his hallway cabinet that wouldn't close all the way. He was in the shower. I was looking for a charger. I tugged it gently and something inside jammed. When I pulled harder, it popped open and everything spilled out like a broken secret. Notebooks, stacks of them, all identical. Leather-bound, elastic strap, pages dog-eared and labeled with colored tabs. I shouldn't have looked, I know that, but the drawer was already open and one notebook had my name on it. Not on the cover, on a tab. Olivia projection pattern. I felt my hands go cold. I opened it. And there it was. My words, my phrases. Lines I'd said during our talks, jotted down and underlined. Notes like, avoids confrontation, coping strategy rooted in father abandonment. Attachment style, anxious preoccupied, strong need for reassurance. Ideal subject for mirroring exercise. I felt like I'd been punched in the lungs. I flipped back page after page. Then I found her. Marla. Her name was written over 3 notebooks. Her entries went back almost a year. And the first date. 8 months ago. 8 months ago, Ethan and I had just met. I started scanning, heart pounding. He'd labeled sessions, Session 5, Session 12, Session 23. Under Session 19. New relationship dynamic introduced, Olivia. Marla expresses jealousy masked as judgment. Recommend passive exposure to reduce threat response. What? What? I dropped the notebook. My mind went static. Was I a tool? A therapeutic tool to help his ex cope? I staggered back, my own face burning in shame and fury. He was still in the shower. I grabbed my bag, walked out. Didn't say goodbye. I couldn't. I needed space, air, a reality check. So I called my best friend, Tasha. She laughed at first, thought I was being dramatic. Until I told her word for word what was in the notebooks. She went quiet, then said, Liv, I hate to say this, but that's fucked, like ethically and emotionally. But even then, some toxic part of me defended him. Maybe it was just notes. Maybe he uses journaling to reflect. Maybe it's not that deep. Girl, he wrote subject for mirroring exercise. You're not his girlfriend, you're his fucking experiment. I cried, then I got mad. And like a good millennial woman with trust issues and a smartphone, I Googled him harder than ever. His name, his license. It came up. Ethan Drake, LMFT. Licensed marriage and family therapist. Still active, still seeing clients. One of his testimonials. Helped me rebuild trust in my partner after infidelity. Thank you for guiding my closure journey. Signed, ML. Marla. L. My breath caught. It was her. He was still seeing her. Not as a patient he was trying to move past, but as a client he was actively treating. He told me he quit therapy because it followed him home. He lied. He didn't quit. He just didn't tell me he never stopped. And the real kicker. He never told her about me. That became clear when I found her Instagram. It wasn't hard, she tagged him in an old post, a blurry photo of his elbow and a sunset. Her captions were cryptic, soulful. One said, working through the pain of betrayal, but I have the safest guide, you know who you are. Another one, just last month. Sometimes love returns in the form of healing, and sometimes you realize it never left. What the hell? I sat in my apartment, vibrating with rage, confused. Humiliated. How do you even begin to process that? That the man you loved was never yours. You were just a living, breathing homework assignment for his ex. I didn't sleep, I didn't eat. I reread those notebooks again and again in my head. Saw the clinical coldness in his observations of me. And then the next Thursday rolled around. 4 p.m. His therapy night. And I snapped. I got in my car. Drove to his house. Parked across the street and waited. He left at exactly 3:48 p.m., dressed in what I called his emotional armor, button-down, navy slacks, brown shoes that made no noise. I followed him. At a distance, he pulled into a quiet business complex in Silver Lake. A tiny building with frosted windows and no sign out front. I waited until he went in. Then I walked to the door, looked around, no one. I pulled my hoodie tight, opened the door. Reception was empty, no cameras, just a bell and a ficus plant that had seen better days. I crept in. Found his office. The door had a nameplate. Ethan Drake, LMFT, Private Counseling. I couldn't hear anything. But I knew she was in there. Marla. Getting her closure. Rebuilding herself using my stolen pieces. I almost walked away. But then I thought, no. You want closure, Marla. Let's give you the real thing. I wasn't planning to knock. I was planning to walk in. And I did. The door creaked a little as I pushed it open, my heart slamming against my ribs like it was trying to break out before I did something irreversible. There they were. Ethan, sitting in his therapist chair, his legs crossed, notebook in hand. Marla, on the couch, tissues in her lap, lips trembling like she was mid-confession. Both their heads jerked toward me in sync, like marionettes on the same broken string. He stood up instantly. Olivia, what the hell are you? I ignored him. I looked at Marla. I'd seen her photos online, but in person she looked fragile, wide-eyed, like a baby deer that might bolt any second, exactly the way he liked his women. I'm so sorry to interrupt your scheduled healing, I said, with a sharpness I didn't recognize in my own voice. But I figured since you both love closure, we might try some of it with all three of us. She blinked. Who are you? Ethan tried to step between us. You can't just barge in, this is a confidential session. Oh, so you do still practice? I smiled. That's good to know, because I have a few ethics boards that might be interested in your extracurricular activities. His face went pale. I pulled out my phone. Set it on the desk, hit record. Tell her, I said, eyes fixed on Ethan. Go on, let's practice radical honesty. Isn't that what you preach in here? He didn't move. So I turned to Marla. I'm Olivia. I've been dating Ethan for 8 months. I thought he was working on himself. He told me he wasn't practicing anymore because it was too heavy. Turns out, he was just practicing on me. She looked back at Ethan, stunned. What? That's not wait, you're together. Were, I said quickly. And you know what's fun? I found your files, all 3 notebooks. Every time he quoted you, every time he compared us, I read it all. Ethan's voice cracked. You had no right. No, Ethan, I snapped. You had no right, you used me, you used her. You called this therapy, but it's just emotional voyeurism. Marla was shaking her head. I didn't know, I swear I didn't know you existed. Of course you didn't, I said, softer now. That's his trick. He tells you you're the only one hurting, the only one healing, the only one real. The room was still. Then Marla stood. Is that true? She asked Ethan. You're seeing her too. He didn't answer. That's when she looked down and saw it. My phone, still recording. Still blinking red. You're recording this. For my own protection, I said. Because abusers like him, they spin stories, and I'm tired of being spun. Marla turned back to him. She looked at him like she'd never seen him before. Delete my number, she whispered, and don't ever speak to me again. Then she left, quietly, quickly, without even a purse. I picked up my phone. Ethan finally found his voice. You're insane. No, I said calmly, I'm done. I walked to the door. Paused. Looked back. You built a career out of other people's pain, Ethan, and then you got lazy. You stopped healing people and started harvesting them. He didn't answer. He just sat down in his chair. Like the coward he was. Like the therapist he pretended to be. I walked out. This time for good. But the story didn't end there. Because I had the footage. And I had questions. So I made a little video. A confessional. Just me, my face, and a message. When your boyfriend says he's in therapy, make sure he's not just writing notes about you. I didn't mention names. I blurred faces. I told the story in metaphor and metaphor alone. But it went viral. Over 1 million views in a week. The comments: "My ex did this too. This feels so manipulative it has to be real. He sounds like a narcissist with a license." Someone even tagged the California LMFT board. I didn't expect that. But apparently, I wasn't the only woman who'd been treated by Ethan. 2 more came forward, anonymous posts, same patterns. Therapist boyfriend, journals, emotional weaponizing under the guise of healing. And suddenly, he went offline. Socials deleted, practice suspended. His Psychology Today profile vanished like a ghost who never existed. I didn't want revenge, but I did want truth. And I think that's what I got. It's funny how silence has a weight to it. You think when someone like Ethan vanishes, deletes everything, ghosts the internet and the world, it would feel like freedom. But instead, it felt like standing in a vacuum, with nothing left to scream at. I thought I'd feel powerful after my video went viral. I thought I'd feel like some twisted version of Aaron Brockovich with better lipstick and worse taste in men. But now, I felt hollow. Every time I opened my inbox, there were messages from women, dozens of them, who had dated men like him, lived with men like him, married men like him. I thought I was crazy. He always said I was the unhealed one. I found therapy notes about me. It wasn't just a story anymore. It was a fucking epidemic. And I was the poster girl. But here's the problem with being a survivor. People think once you expose the monster, you walk away heroic and whole. They don't see what happens after. They don't see the insomnia, the compulsive rechecking of locks, the way you flinch when someone says you're overreacting. Because that's what Ethan said too. Over and over. "You're being dramatic, Olivia. This isn't about you. You're projecting again." He made me doubt my reality so many times, I forgot what my own instincts sounded like. Now, they're screaming. But it's all echo. One night, maybe a week after the video hit 1 million views, I got a text. "Unknown number. You should have kept your mouth shut." No name, no context, just that. My throat tightened so fast I dropped my phone. I reported it. Blocked it. Filed a police report no one would ever follow up on. And I sat in the middle of my apartment, lights blazing, heart pounding, staring at the shadows like one of them might peel off the wall and say, "You did this to yourself." Because some part of me still believed it. The therapy worked all right. Just not for me. I stopped sleeping. Stopped eating anything that took longer than 60 seconds to microwave. Started reading the same paragraph in books over and over again, because my brain refused to let me hold thoughts that weren't about him. And then came the spiral's ugliest twist. I saw Ethan again. Not in person, but in a podcast. Some wannabe therapist bro was interviewing him about narcissism in modern relationships. And there he was. Looking smug. Polished. Wearing the goddamn sweater I bought him last Christmas. Sometimes, emotionally unstable partners project their unresolved trauma onto healthy dynamics, he said, smoothly. It's important for professionals like myself to maintain firm boundaries. I screamed. I literally screamed at my laptop. Because now I knew what it was like to be gaslit publicly. I sent an email to the podcast, no response. I posted a comment, it got deleted. I DM'd the host. He replied, "Sorry you feel that way." That sentence, "sorry you feel that way," should be a fucking war crime. So I did what I always did when the world refused to validate me. I called my mom. Bad idea. Because here's the thing with moms like mine. They love you, but they love their version of you more. "Sweetheart, maybe it's time to move on." From trauma, I said flatly. From making a public spectacle, you don't want people to think you're bitter. Bitter. Because speaking the truth is somehow more offensive than living a lie. I hung up. I cried. And then I pulled out Ethan's last notebook. The one I hadn't read yet. The one I'd shoved in a drawer because I thought I was done bleeding. Inside were notes. Not about Marla. About me. Observations. Reactions. Fucking formulations. Subject exhibits high emotional sensitivity, possible borderline features. Idealizes early, devalues later. Uses confrontation as connection. Subject. Subject. Like I was some kind of case study. He even rated me. On a goddamn Likert scale. Likelihood of sustained emotional attachment, low. Tendency toward public emotional outbursts, high. I saw red. Then I saw clarity. This wasn't just manipulation. It was clinical cruelty. He'd taken my trust, my openness, my love, and he'd annotated it like a professor grading a tragedy. I wanted to burn the notebook. But I didn't. Because this time, the story wasn't over. And I wasn't done talking. You know what's wilder than realizing your ex was using therapy as an excuse? Realizing he was using you as a live case study. But you know what's even wilder? Planning your own therapeutic intervention in front of a fucking camera. Let me rewind. After finding that notebook, that clinical, sterile, twisted little Bible of my heartbreak, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I laughed. Not the cute kind, the manic, mascara-running, burn-it-all-down kind of laugh. Because if Ethan wanted to play therapist, then I was ready to be his lesson. And class was about to be in session. So I did something insane. I booked a session. I used a burner number, a fake name, said I was referred by one of his former clients. I knew he wouldn't turn down a new case. Narcissists love new supply. He scheduled me for the next Friday, 2:30 p.m., usual location. I didn't tell anyone. Not my best friend, not my mom, not my therapist. Yes, I finally got a real one. But I did bring a friend, a hidden camera, one of those sleek little lapel pins with a built-in mic. I positioned it just right so it would catch his expressions, his reactions, every twitch of guilt or smugness. I wore a hoodie, no makeup, hair up, no earrings. I wanted to look like anyone. And when I walked into that beige little office with the diploma on the wall, and that scent of lavender masking years of secrets, he didn't even recognize me. "Hi," he said, with that same condescending warmth he used on me for years. "You must be Jessica." I smiled. "Sure," I said, "let's go with that." He gestured toward the couch. "You can sit wherever makes you comfortable." Oh, the irony. So I sat. Cross-legged, calm, still. And then I said it. "You're probably wondering why I'm here, Ethan." He blinked. Paused. The name had triggered something. "Have we met?" he asked slowly. "Oh, I think we have," I said, pulling down my hoodie. His jaw went tight. I watched his pupils flicker, recognition, panic, control. "You can't be here," he said. "This is an appointment." "Oh, I know," I interrupted. "And I'm the client, so shut the fuck up and listen." He stood. I raised a hand, calm as a judge. "You walk out of this room, I release the video." "What video?" I tapped the pin on my chest. "Smile, you're on therapy cam." He sat back down. Vast. His mask was slipping, finally. I leaned in, elbows on knees. "You told me you were going to therapy, for months. You said you were working on yourself, healing, processing." Silence. "You even cried, Ethan, actual fucking tears, while you were holding space for your ex." He flinched. "I read your notes, all of them, the ones where you called me a volatile subject, where you rated my emotional unpredictability a 9 out of 10. His mouth opened, but I wasn't done. "I thought I was healing beside you. Turns out I was fueling your research." He finally spoke. "You broke into my private documents. You wrote about me like I wasn't a person," I shot back. "You sat in this exact chair, telling women you were safe, while you monitored their trauma like a goddamn science project." "I helped people," he said weakly. "No, you used people. You pretended to be neutral while processing your own breakup, with your ex." "She needed closure," he snapped. "I was being professional." "You were being unethical," I snapped. "And you know what happens to unethical therapists." He looked at me, eyes narrowing. "You're bluffing." I smiled. Maybe, maybe not. But I sent that notebook to the licensing board this morning. Every page. Silence. I also sent them screenshots of your texts to Marla. The ones where you called her your real patient and said you were tired of pretending with Olivia. He turned pale. Then red. Then pale again. And then I said the final line. I'm not here to hurt you, Ethan. I'm here to make sure you never do this again. We sat in silence. Just for a second. Then I stood up, turned to the camera, and added, "Session complete." And I walked out. Just like that. They say revenge doesn't heal you. They're right. It doesn't fix the nights I sat alone, wondering why my love wasn't enough. It doesn't erase the therapy bills I racked up trying to fix what he was breaking behind my back. But it did give me something I didn't know I'd lost, my own voice. After I walked out of that office, I didn't look back. I didn't wait for Ethan to call. I didn't refresh my inbox for some faux apology disguised as emotional processing. Nope. I went straight to my car, locked the doors, and screamed into the steering wheel until I was hoarse. Then I drove to my best friend's house, tossed my phone on the couch, and said, "You're gonna want wine for this." She cried halfway through the story, laughed through the second half. And when I showed her the video, she said, "You're either insane or iconic." Maybe both. But hear what happened next. The video, it never went viral. I didn't post it. I sent it to the licensing board with a signed statement. 2 weeks later, I got a formal response. Ethan's license was under review. He was suspended pending investigation. His practice website disappeared within days. I never heard from him again. Not once. But I did hear from Marla. She found me, DM'd me, said I should have listened to my gut, thank you. Turns out I wasn't the only one he'd therapized through his own drama. There were others. One of them wrote me the most heartbreaking message. He told me I was just like his ex, that he was processing what she did to him through our sessions. I thought it was healing. Now I feel sick. Yeah. Same. But that's the thing about emotional abuse dressed up as therapy. It doesn't look like harm until you've bled from it. So I got myself a real therapist, a woman fully licensed, no shared pasts. And I sat on a different couch and said something I'd never said out loud before. I lost myself in his diagnosis of me. Because that's the truth. Ethan didn't just manipulate me, he rewrote my reality. Every doubt I had, he confirmed. Every time I questioned him, he called it projection. Every tear I cried, unresolved trauma. He made my entire identity feel like a case file. And the worst part, I believed him. But not anymore. I've started journaling again, not for content, not for captions, just for me. And one of the first things I wrote was, I'm not broken. I was dissected. And now I'm piecing myself back together. Not into the girl I was before Ethan, no. Into someone sharper. Someone who can spot manipulation through a mask of credentials. Someone who doesn't confuse empathy with emotional espionage. And maybe one day I'll trust again. But it won't be because someone says the right things. It'll be because I feel safe without being studied. Oh, and before you ask, no, I didn't post the full video to YouTube. But I did post a story time. No names, no faces. Just me in a hoodie telling the world what happens when a therapist uses love as research. It got 2.3 million views in a week. And my inbox flooded. Messages from women saying, I thought I was crazy. You put into words what I couldn't explain. Thank you. That's when I realized, this isn't just my story. It's a cautionary tale. It's a mirror for every woman who's been told she's too emotional, too dramatic, too unstable, by the man who was secretly poking her scars just to see what bled. And if you're watching this, reading this, listening right now, wondering if you are the problem, let me say it clearly. Real love doesn't make you doubt your memories. Real therapy doesn't make you question your sanity. And real healing, it starts the moment you stop performing and start reclaiming your narrative. So here I am, Olivia, 35. Not healed, not perfect, but finally free. And that's enough for now. Subscribe to my Mia's Stories YouTube channel for raw, emotional stories and authentic insights that encourage healing, growth, and understanding. Don't forget to be part of a supportive space where stories inspire and lessons resonate. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments. Your opinion truly matters to us, and we're here for you.